we're going to be talking about case studies. Case studies can be and should be one of the most powerful things that you have in your arsenal for sales. And if you haven't gotten the worksheet for this, please do comment or click the link in the comment below. I'll have my team go ahead and put the link to the worksheet in the first comment below in the video. So what tends to happen quite a lot is that when you're making a move from being entirely referral based to actually starting to generate leads in a more scalable fashion, prospects end up really not being able to trust you because you don't have that built-in trust that you would have had from the person that was actually referring you, which makes quite a significant adjustment to the way that you're marketing. And prospects don't really have a lens into how it is that you're able to help. And trust is so incredibly important to being able to allow for them to reduce the amount of risk that they feel when engaging with an agency like yours. So case studies, as I mentioned, is so incredibly powerful to allow for them to understand that you've done this before. And ultimately what people want to know is that they're not going to be a guinea pig to you, and that you've done this work before, that you've done the same thing that they're looking for, and that you've actually been able to solve a challenge for someone like them before. And if they don't feel that, they're ultimately not going to want to move forward. And ultimately they don't end up converting, and which causes, and what I hear so incredibly frequently is that, you're able to convert quite well. But when you start looking at the conversions that you have in cold leads, it's quite significantly different in the conversion that you're able to have, because of the fact that up until that point, you have been entirely referral based. And when you start to work on leads in a different fashion, it actually makes it change quite a bit, because they're coming from a different source and they don't have that built-in trust that they had when you were referral based in the sales that you were making. And ultimately they end up falling through your nurturing and really end up essentially just ghosting you in your sales process. And then ultimately prospects can't and don't understand that you have the expertise that you do. I see this so incredibly frequently that agencies, they do such great work and they're able to generate such amazing results for their clients, and that you really truly are the expert, and they just don't know that you have that expertise. And ultimately they don't hire you because they're not positive that you can solve their problem, and you don't really stand out as an authority, and that you're able to get them to where they need to be. So what we want to be able to do is actually leverage their peer-to-peer group of influence, allowing for them to have essentially the social proof that shows that you have been able to do that exact thing before, and that you are able to actually solve that problem that they're having. And it shows them that, it shows your prospects and your potential clients that another person has endorsed you for that particular thing, and that you're able to actually solve that challenge that they're facing. And you're able to nurture leads a ton easier because you're able to incorporate your case studies into the marketing, into your sales process, and ultimately giving your sales team, even if it's you, and a lot of agency owners, the agency owner is the primary salesperson, which is totally fine. But it does allow for you to have a really powerful tool in your arsenal for sales that allows for your prospects to have a very clear understanding of how you've helped people in the past, and then ultimately, like I said before, that they can trust you. And it helps you being able to demonstrate your expertise in that area, and that you are an industry expert, and that you're able to actually help them. It explains the why behind the how of your service, and how you're really able to actually get them to where they're looking to get to. And ultimately, that is what it is that an agency is selling, is the outcome, right? And this is what I see happen so incredibly frequently across agency marketing, agency sales, is that you're selling all the different nuances and pieces that actually go into the work, right? Which then ultimately ends up commoditizing the efforts that you're putting in, and commoditizing the services that you're offering, because you're selling all the different pieces to it rather than actually the end goal. And that's what you're actually looking to sell. It does become a different conversation when you are selling the actual end outcome. And how you actually go about doing that is extremely important, and making sure that you're able to do that in an appropriate fashion. I just wanted to check something real quick. Yep. So what we want to do is we want to have a very clear understanding of the type of client that you're looking to attract, right? So having a very clear understanding of your client persona and who it is exactly that you're looking to work with is extremely, extremely important. So you want to think about the demographic, psychographic, geographic area of your ideal client. You know, how much revenue do they have? What are their primary challenges? What are the things that you have been able to accomplish for clients in the past? And what has been some of the biggest impacts that you've been able to have in their businesses, and what you've been able to accomplish for them? And like I said, this is where a case study really is super powerful, because you're able to demonstrate that in a very meaningful way. And there's tons of ways that you can utilize case studies in marketing and in your sales, to your capabilities deck and in your proposals, that allow for your prospects and potential future clients to be able to have that very clear understanding of how you're able to help, and ultimately what it is that you're able to do for them on an ongoing basis. I'm having notifications. I'm sorry about that. Hold on one second. All right, that's gone. So it's really, really important. And one of the things that happens quite a lot, and that can become a bit difficult, right, is that I hear very frequently is that you don't have the actual data points that you need in order to build a really meaningful case study. So what I want you to do is actually go through and create a list of potential clients, either current clients or past clients, or projects that you have completed in the past that are going to help solve your ideal client's challenges, right? And that your ideal client is going to find relatable. And then find out from them and actually put that list together, determine the ones that are going to be truly high value. And then what I want you to do is actually reach out to them and find out whether they are okay having a conversation with you about it, and just try to actually have that conversation. And this is so incredibly important, because you're able to actually then get the data points that you need, and numbers in these are so incredibly powerful, especially when you're talking about something that in so many cases can feel quite subjective. When it comes to a creative service offering, there's so much that tons of people and agency owners tend to feel that, you know, you're not able to directly apply the work that you've done to an end result. And quite frankly, I don't believe that to be true, that you're able to actually show the amount of impact that you've been able to have. Obviously, what you're doing is a piece to an overall puzzle, but it doesn't mean that you didn't actually help impact that particular end outcome. And having gone through and having an understanding. So making sure that you know if it's a website that you've designed, or a brand that you've done, or graphic design that you've been able to do, to one sheets and presentations, whatever it is that the work that you've done is, how was that used? How did it actually have that impact? And what did it actually mean to that business? So once you've reached out, obviously we want to set up a time for you to meet with that prior client, current client, to allow for you to be able to gather the information that you need to be able to create that case study. So incredibly important, like I said, to actually try to put as much of a numerical value, quantitatively be able to determine exactly what it was, that impact that you were able to generate for that client. It's so really, truly meaningful for you to be able to do that and have that information available to you so you can utilize it in your case study. And so what I want you to do is then think about what it is exactly, or the KPIs that you're looking to be able to get from that meeting. So I want you to put those questions down of where were they before, and then where are they now? And it may be conversion, it may be cost per lead, it may be their conversion rates, it may be tons of different things, to average lifetime value of a client, to average cart values, tons of different types of KPIs that you can utilize here. And it really depends on your specific service offering. And if you're having any questions about what types of KPIs you should be asking about, please do comment on this video, and we're happy to give you some information on what types of data points you should be collecting from your potential clients. If they've got graphs or other visual information, great. If not, then you can actually go about creating them. And one of the things that I wanted to mention here too is that should they actually be willing to have a video recorded during the time that you're meeting with them would be super, super, super helpful for you. So there's tons of value in someone being able to view a case study through your existing clients or previous clients' own words, and how that is so incredibly impactful for them to be able to have seen it and actually come from their mouths themselves. There's a different framework that I would actually have you go through if you're going to be recording it. If you are, we'll be doing a training at some point in the future about how to actually go about creating the script for this type of interview. For now, what we're going to be talking about is how to go about it. And it's the same overall sort of basic framework. So if you are looking to do this now, you can utilize this framework for it as well, that I'll be going through in just a second. But right now, what we're focusing on is written case studies that allow for you to be able to put them in your presentations, to your proposals, and on your website as well. So when it comes to the actual development of the case study, I want you to be thinking about a couple of different things. And the overall concept is in third-party selling, right? That you need to be able to create a story arc of where they were and what actually happened and what the end result was. So what this can be utilized for is and what you want to do is be able to actually have them take the emotional journey that they actually had from the point that they initially started speaking with you and started speaking to you in the sales conversation, because you can actually utilize your case studies for objection management as well, and then actually take them through actually working with you and the result that they were able to get. If they are ongoing working with you, what results they're actually getting now. And if it was a project-oriented thing, then what was it that they initially got, and then where are they now as well. So I'm going to go ahead and actually share my iPad with you. The pieces that you're actually looking to have in a case study are a couple of things. So first, you want to have them understand the initial challenge that client had. Let me go ahead and actually make that a little bit bigger. Okay. So you want to have them have a very clear understanding of what that challenge was, right? What it is exactly that they were looking to solve. The second thing that you want to have an understanding is what was the negative impact that was had. What is so important here is understanding that when it comes to sales of a service like an agency, is that what you are actually selling and the way that you actually sell is from an emotional conversation, and you need to actually sell to the emotion. And so this particular piece is really important, and being able to have your prospects and those potential future dream clients be able to have an understanding of what that emotional place was for that particular person. It allows for them to connect with them more, connect with the story more, connect with that particular situation in a more meaningful way. So what was that negative impact that was going on? And this is from an emotional place, right? So it could be, I was really anxious. I wasn't able to pay bills, so I was constantly worried about what was actually going on. I wasn't able to invest in my business in an appropriate way that allowed for me to be able to really grow. It's those types of things that are, that piece that was the anxiety, the stress, the things that were actually going on for them that allows for you to be able to utilize this in a really meaningful way. And then 3 is the objection that they were actually having to not actually wanting to engage with someone like you. And this is where I was saying that your case studies can be utilized for objection management, is that if you're able to actually hit this place of, why would they not have wanted to engage with you, or what was the reasons why they were had some trepidation to wanting to work with you. This was really, really impactful, because if you're able to have the conversation that is able to show where they were as well in deciding to actually work with you, it's likely that prospect is actually having that same emotional experience as well. And if you're able to have them describe the same feeling, they're going to then be able to have that meaningful connection to that case study as well, being able to have a very clear understanding of how that person and where that person was in the conversation. Because if they have that same feeling, they're able to actually go through it and being able to manage it a bit better. You're able to manage it a bit better. And then ultimately what you want to talk about is the solution, right? So how was it that you actually engaged with them? What was it exactly that you did that allowed for them to be able to solve that challenge, right? What it actually meant to them, what it was that actually led to that end result that they were looking for, and how they were able to solve that challenge. Number 5 is that you want to be able to outline what it was that the process that they went through. So how exactly did you engage with them? So what type of consultative approach did you have? What did it actually look like? And what was their experience actually working with you? And how did that actually, how did that transpire in the relationship from the place that they actually decided to sign on the dotted line to the end deliverable of where they were? And then 6, you want to actually describe the result of what they were actually able to accomplish. And again, in a very quantitative way, and where those data points that I was talking about are very, very important here, because you want to be able to describe exactly what the results that they got in a quantitative fashion, right? Numbers, human beings really gravitate to numbers. It helps create a ton more trust when you're able to actually show the numerical value of what it was, that result that they got. And then ultimately, you want to take the inverse of the negative impact and go through the positive impact that they actually had in working with you and engaging with you. So you want to have them describe the emotional place that they were and where they are now, and how it actually changed the way that they were in their business, right? And how it actually made a difference working with you. And so if they were anxious, or they were worried about cash flow, or they were worried about leads, or their leads were too expensive, is now, for example, the emotional experience and that positive impact would be, now I'm able to actually focus on what I do very well, and not so focused and worried about bringing in cash flow and bringing in leads. I'm able to actually now focus on growing the business, and it's really removed that really huge pain point that I had, and it's just made that really significant impact to the way that the business has been able to progress. And so then now what I want you to actually do is allow for you to be able to build in some actionable advice from this case study, right? So I'm not saying that you're going to give away all of your best information. You should be giving them a lot of great value in this, though. And I really don't want you to be stingy with it. I want you to actually be able to share the strategy or the tactic and the process, as I mentioned before, that you utilize to help them get to where they want to go. Ultimately, and where I know so many agencies are very concerned about this particular prospect of, sharing a lot of detail about how they were able to accomplish the result that they're looking for. And ultimately, the primary worry is, one, other agencies are going to take from that information, or two, they're going to feel like they're going to be able to do it on your own. You do need to be careful about that particular line of where you are and actually having them have the feeling that they can do it on their own. Ultimately, you don't want them to have that feeling. But if you're able to be transparent about what that process was like and how you were able to do it, you're able to reduce the amount of risk that they felt in how they were actually working with you. It allows for them, ultimately the reason people tend to not buy is because they feel like the sacrifice is going to be too high, the risk in working with you is too high, or ultimately they just don't believe that they're going to achieve that outcome that they're looking for. And if you're able to show them in this case study that the risk is actually higher for them to not engage with you versus engaging with you, that they can actually trust you because you've done it before, and that this amount of sacrifice that it's going to take for them to actually accomplish this is minimal, you're going to be able to convert at a much better rate. And then what I wanted to end today with was talking about how you can actually utilize this case study in multiple different formats. So, what I want you to do is actually think about how and where you're going to publish it, how you can actually promote this case study and utilize it in a meaningful way. I mean, one of the easiest ways, obviously, is just putting it on your site and potentially sharing it on social, to sharing it on LinkedIn pages and in your content of what you're putting out on a regular basis. Really great way to be thinking about it. Think about it in the same way that you'd be promoting any other piece of content that you're putting out there into the world, and how you can actually just, try to get as many eyes on this as possible. The other thing that's really helpful here too is recognizing that certain case studies are going to apply more to a specific person, right? And that if you have someone that has a specific challenge and you know what that challenge is or what they're actually looking to solve, then you're able to better utilize this case study to be able to reduce that amount of risk that someone actually feels, increase that amount of trust that they have. So if you think about, having a list of the different case studies and what the challenges were by case study and who that person was and what that result that they're looking for. So if you have a list of all your case studies by challenge and by outcome, and so if you're able to align the outcome or the challenge to what that particular prospect is actually feeling, you can then utilize that case study in your sales conversation with them in a really meaningful way, because you're able to bring it up, you're able to show it to them in your proposal, you're able to show it to them in a case study, you're even able to show it to them just off the cuff in an email that allows for them to be able to read that particular case study and ultimately feel safe and allow for them to have the highest amount of trust that they possibly can. If you have any questions about case studies, as I mentioned, this is a very, very, very powerful tool in your arsenal for sales, an arsenal for lead gen, an arsenal for marketing. It allows for you to build in an incredible amount of trust with your prospects and your potential future clients. If you do have any questions, please do shoot us a message or comment below, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I really hope that you are going to spend some time working on your case studies, allowing for you to really be able to leverage this really powerful tool to be able to grow your agency.